The recently released Dead Space Remake is an absolute powerhouse of a game. With everything that the original has to offer, plus much more, alongside updated gameplay mechanics and stunning visuals, it's a serious contender for the best remake of all time, even beating out the original Resident Evil 1 remake. That being said, I've been playing through the game and taking my time to enjoy every single detail, for exactly one playthrough. And now that that's done, the fun can begin. I started to collect the other achievements, and two in particular caught my attention. Beat the game using only the plasma cutter being the first gun you acquire, a pistol-like gun that is one of the most effective for cutting off limbs, and beat the game on impossible difficulty, the Dead Space 2 hardcore equivalent for this game. The hardest difficulty in the game reduces item drops, increases enemy health, and increases damage taken from enemies. On top of that, it's permadeath, so if you die, it's over for good. You have to restart the entire game. You also only get one save slot. Hard and impossible are exactly the same difficulty, however. Impossible simply adds the permadeath element to the difficulty. Naturally, as a speedrunner, I wanted to condense these achievements into the least amount of playthroughs possible, so I thought it would be fun to try to beat impossible difficulty for the first time, only being allowed to use the plasma cutter. So that's exactly what I set out to do. I set up my timer and my death counter, fully expecting to die many times along my journey. I started my first attempt and settled in for the small movie at the start of the game. The remake is insanely faithful, even sometimes to a fault. It even has the modern gaming classic of having long-ass introductions that are completely unskippable. I was curious exactly how long this introduction was going to be, especially since I was considering speedrunning the game. And I knew it was going to be long, but god damn! Nearly 5 minutes before you could even move. I really hope I beat this challenge on the first try so I don't have to do this again. Once Hammond and Kendra start their bickering, we finally get some actual gameplay, as we sit behind this piece of glass and watch all of our new friends die horrible, painful deaths. How many times did I complete the game so far? This fun. I played a lot yesterday. I played like 13 hours in the game plus, but it was mostly witch hunting. This is when I get to implement the first piece of speedrun tech that we have developed so far. This one is going to be super useful for this challenge. If you turn on toggle aim, then you aim, you can let go of the aim button and press sprint. This will not only let you sprint while aiming, but the sprint speed is the aim walking speed stacked on top of sprint speed. This makes you move 16% faster than normal sprinting. That's a 3-second time save every 18 seconds of walking. I'm Not only is that huge for making playthroughs faster, but it also makes you able to dodge enemies a lot easier. This would be essential when surviving on impossible difficulty. The game itself has 12 chapters that ramp up in difficulty the further you go. The player can also ramp up their effectiveness as time goes along too though. This makes it so that there are 2 spikes in difficulty throughout the game. The very beginning, when you have no resources, is very difficult, and the last 3 chapters where there are a ton of enemies, that also gets super hard. This leads us to the first time we meet up with Hammond and Kendra after the fiesta we saw from behind the glass. This is where I test out another piece of speedrun tech. If you open up a text or video log, then walk into a new video call that blocks progression like this one, once the video call starts, you can spam escape to close the video call, skipping it. This can be done for almost every single call in the game, and in theory it saves like 25 minutes in the playthrough. The original game, you could just remove the files to skip these, but in the remake, you can do it without having to tamper with the files, doing it entirely inside the game. Unfortunately, I did this challenge run on the 3rd day of the game being out because I'm an absolute legend, so I wasn't fully aware of this trick's potential. And I had also heard that skipping certain rig videos could potentially soft lock you, making it impossible for you to progress. So I didn't want to have that happen. It turns out that Hammond and Kendra are also on a timer here, so the door won't actually open until they open it for you at the end of the sequence. And that is not tied to the video. So when I skipped the video, I was just stuck in the room. I thought this was it. 10 minutes into my first attempt and I already screwed myself over. I'm gonna have to watch that 5-minute intro again already. And just when I saw my life flash before my eyes, I was saved, as an angel came down from heaven and unlocked the door, letting me progress. This, like most near-death experiences, has given me PTSD. So out of sheer fear and panic, I didn't try to skip any more of the video calls for the rest of the playthrough. I just didn't want to have to be forced to start over and watch that long-ass intro cutscene again. This is when we start getting into the meat of the first chapter though, zooming around like a toddler playing Fortnite, hitting the gritty on these necromorphs. Funny enough, hitting the gritty on them necromorphs is actually the most effective way to kill them and save ammo, especially in rooms that have infinite stasis recharges. If you stasis a necromorph then stomp on his toes, their legs will break off and then you can easily stomp their arms off, killing them instantly. This actually saves like 7 to 8 shots per enemy and gives you more ammo once they die. I knew I would need tons of ammo at the start, so I would camp by the stasis recharge and kill everything I could with this method. It's also way safe. Then before I left, I would recharge stasis again and then go on my merry way. I think that it's good time to make this public service announcement. So, attention all Dead Space Remake gamers. Impossible mode has 1 save slot, not 1 save. You can save in this save slot as many times as you want. You just only have 1 save slot. If at any time you need to run, go get some McDonald's, stuff your face, and then take a big dump in the middle of your playthrough, you can do this. Just save, leave, and come back later. There are no consequences for this. This is very different from the 3 total save slots that you have in Dead Space 2's Hardcore. In that game, when you save a 3rd time, that's it. You can't make any more saves. I see a lot of people thinking that Impossible in the remake is like this, but with only 1 save. And that's understandable. The American school system has failed you, and reading comprehension is at an all-time low. But I feel like this is information that people ought to know. Making my way through chapter 11, I was being super safe, going back and forth from stasis recharge stations and farming necro kills on explosive barrels to optimize ammo usage. This is when I got to my first upgrade bench, and I had to make a few decisions. The only things I could upgrade would be the suit and the plasma cutter, obviously. So I'd have more than enough to upgrade all of them basically all the way. But what would I prioritize first? I ultimately decided that Riz was the main stat I wanted to max out first. So I went with stasis, so I could better hit the gritty. I did also prioritize upgrading damage on the plasma cutter. Having lots of ammo was good, but it would be essential to do more damage later on when fighting bigger, tougher enemies, especially bosses. I ride a few more tram cars and watch a cutscene or two. This is when mom and dad start fighting and things get a little explosive. But we make it out safely and escape into chapter 2. In the middle of chapter 2, I did a little trick that I discovered the day prior, when I was supposed to be doing a New Game Plus run to get the secret ending, but instead ended up glitch hunting for about 14 hours straight. It turns out this game has prop flying. If you kinesis an object and then walk on top of it, you can lift it up and send yourself flying. It's pretty hard and a bit finicky. But soon, I was like E.T., going home. I popped up onto the table and over the railing in the medical deck, landing on the 2nd floor near the stasis recharge. This is where the aliens attacked. But if they were aliens, I guess that makes me Michael Jackson. I make them my prey swiftly and hit the gritty to save some ammo. Infinite stasis recharge stations are actually so broken. I could just hug this thing and make the whole room look like the blue guy group. Once they were, I could just take them out one at a time. I quickly recharge the captain's rig, making sure to kill the infector first, so I only have to deal with him and the captain. Then I make my way to chapter 3, and when I get there, I unlock the first upgrade to the plasma cutter. Unlike the original game, you can't just spend power nodes to fully upgrade your weapons and suit right from the get-go. You have to buy or find items that allow you to expand the upgrade tree first. This is really cool, and I get my first 2 for the plasma cutter right here. Each of these upgrade tree expansions ends with a special upgrade that changes the core feature about the gun. The 2 I got give the gun fire damage over time and a largely increased ammo capacity. I opted to upgrade the suit more, especially the air. There are many sections where you are limited on air, and if you run out, that's it. It's GG. That would be a very embarrassing way to lose my impossible run, so I figured I'd play it safe and upgraded it. I was confident in my combat for now, so I would pass up on more gun upgrades. This was especially true because I was drowning in ammo. I wasn't sure how this challenge run would go on the ammo front at first. I actually really love the plasma cutter. It's such a fun and unique weapon. And it's a staple of the Dead Space franchise. So I actually normally do most of my playthroughs using exclusively the plasma cutter. And one thing I've noticed over the years is that Dead Space will almost only drop plasma cutter ammo if it's the only gun you have. I think how the system works is that the game will only drop you ammo for guns that you have equipped. So if you have the Ripper, pulse rifle, and plasma cutter, it will almost exclusively drop ammo for those 3 guns. It also evenly distributes this ammo across all 3 different ammo types, so you have to vary up your weapon usage. This is why every weapon is at least somewhat effective against every enemy. But this system can be exploited by using only 1 weapon. If you do that, then the game will only give you ammo drops for that 1 weapon. And in no time flat, you'll be absolutely swimming in a sea of ammo. I wasn't sure if the remake would implement the system in the same way it was in the previous games, but this playthrough proved to me that it did. After stomping out maybe 10 enemies, I had over 200 plasma cutter rounds, on a difficulty that has reduced drop rates. This makes the game a lot easier actually. The plasma cutter is already the best weapon in the game, and on my first playthrough, my biggest problem with it was I could never find any ammo. With that problem solved, I was cutting my way through this game in record time. Later in the chapter, there's a big set piece that has you do a bit of platforming. Platforming? Is it still platforming if you can't jump? Anyways, you're in a vacuum and your air is quickly draining. During this time, you must make a big run past the giant spinning generator of death. If it hits you, then you instantly die, and on possible, that's GG. Normally, you have to go left and it's easier, but in my first playthrough, I went right instead. This timing is much tighter, and it's way easier to die. But going with the toggle sprint run speed, it should be super simple. Going this way turns out to be a lot faster, and I was afraid of going the intended way. I had never done it before, so I might get lost and die or something. I ended up going the riskier way, but it paid off. For now, the rest of the game was pretty simple. Impossible difficulty wasn't so impossible for me, I guess. Even the harder enemies like brutes went down easy if you know how to avoid them. Stasis abuse was the key. Chapter 4 completely revamped the asteroid shooting minigame. Instead of doing a 2-minute auto-scroller where you sit and shoot asteroids, you now completely do it free flow and in 0G. On top of that, you're also in a vacuum and you could die of lack of air. I was pretty nervous for this part, so I upgraded my air once again. I also babied the air canisters on the wall on my way from turret to turret. It was actually really easy though, and I did it with plenty of time to spare. The next big scary event was the boss fight on chapter 6. In my first playthrough, I had nearly a full upgraded contact beam and used over 20 alternate fire shots on the boss. This thing was tanky, or so I thought, but my plasma cutter made short work of him. I think I may have just missed the first time around or something. I was still nervous though. The second phase in particular takes away the oxygen, so I had to kill him fast or I would choke to death on my own farts inside my suit. At this point, the game was kind of a breeze. I made my way through chapter by chapter, flying through it at record pace. I even ordered a pizza to fatten me up. It's here. The pizza. Nearly 3.5 hours in, I'm already at chapter 7. I really don't want to die at this point. I'm super invested. I need to beat this challenge on the first attempt, or I will lose my mind when I die. I don't want to do another 3.5 hours just to get back here. That's when I started to get a bit nervous. A little bit anxious, you could say. Could this be the run? Could I do this challenge on my very first attempt? There were only 3 big sections left that I was afraid of now. The boss on chapter 8, because once again, it's in a vacuum 0G section. Chapter 9, because of the Twitcher enemies and environmental difficulties. And chapter 11 and 12, combat sections in particular, because of the insane amount of enemies in those sections. Once I got to the chapter 8 boss, I was a little bit scared, but I was definitely more prepared than scared. I upgraded my air once again and had an air tank just in case things went to shit. I also had tons of heals so that I could just spam them if I was gonna die. This boss is a lot like the chapter 4 0G section where you have to use the turrets to shoot the asteroids. But instead, you're using the turrets to shoot the weak points on the boss. There are 3 weak points, and every time you break one of them, the boss gets into a new phase and does extra attacks. The first phase just has a tentacle. The second phase has the tentacle and then some mines, and then the final phase has 2 tentacles and some mines. The way I did it was a little bit scary and inefficient though. I did the middle side, then the left, then the right. Doing so made me have to cross the entire arena with the mines out and about. That made that trek from the left to the right side really scary. I beat it though, and I didn't even have to use my air tank. That wasn't so bad. This, however, opened up chapter 9, and this chapter would be by far the scariest yet. The Valor crashes into the Ishimura and is unusable, but there's a part inside the ship that you need to go rescue so you can use it to make your own escape on a different ship. The problem is the crew on board has turned into necromorphs. Their turn is special because they were soldiers, and they had stasis units too. Because of this, they're immune to stasis, making them terrifying. Fighting these enemies is wild, and if you don't hit their weak spot that causes them to freeze in place, then it can downward spiral faster than an Emblem video. Playing slow and careful gets me through most of the levels somewhat smoothly. There is one room, however, the nuclear warhead room, that has, you know, a fucking nuclear warhead in it, and if you accidentally blow up any of the exploders in this room, it's instant death. It's okay though, I didn't somehow. Please just die and never respawn again. I don't like your kind. After that, there's a room where you have to use kinesis to move a block in front of fire so that you can cross safely. After many minutes of deliberately slow movement, I thought that I was almost about to turn off the fire, and then this happened. I tried to squeeze between the 2 fire outputs, and I got down to 1 HP. No, 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 no. I thought I was dead for sure. As the fire engulfed my body, I saw a flash of white light. My life. Countless hours wasted in front of a computer screen, never seeing the color green. What a waste, I thought, as I closed my eyes and embraced my fate. Psych! I spammed heal as fast as I could and walked out of the fire somehow. I didn't die, and I was able to walk out of the fire. I nearly shit my pants, but that's good, because human feces is not flammable. After this, I regained my composure and head to the end of the level. This is where I almost kill myself again by using the toggle aim run speed to accidentally run through the closing door before Hammond can close it. Oh. Okay, note to self, you can run. Oh my god, that was almost so bad. I have no idea what happens if you get in there before the cutscene plays, and I was not about to find out 4.5 hours into my impossible playthrough. After Hammond becomes pasta sauce, I got my ass back to the Ishimura. With both of those done, I was only worried about the last few combat encounters. This part of the game really ramps up the combat and enemy count. I was able to buy the final suit and upgrade the plasma cutter and suit almost entirely, to the point of me being an absolute tank. At this point, I had mastered the combat and I had nothing to lose. I just needed to make it through the combat in the next few sections and then I could take this baby home. I was becoming Doom Guy himself. Chapter 12, I was scared. I have gotten to the very end on my very first attempt. If I died, I was not going to try again. But I had heard tales of friends getting soft locked randomly in several parts of the run, and I saw it happen to my own friend Bakbasup live.
I don't see a battery. Batteries? Are you floating? I guess I could load an older save.
The batteries in the 0G section of Chapter 12 just didn't spawn and he could not progress. The only way to fix this soft lock was to reinstall the game and delete your saves. This meant if it happened on an impossible run, your run was over. With bated breath, I go into the 0G room. Rage. Rage. Chat, rage. And oh my god, it's there. I am saved. I shouldn't have any problems. Just finish the last combat encounter and then the final boss and I'm free to go. I activated the marker tram and make a save just in case the game crashes on the cutscene, which also has been a problem for some people. I do the combat and activate the cutscene, then right during the big reveal, Dead Space.exe has stopped responding. Haha, bitch, I saw this coming. I close the game and reload my save. I have to do the combat encounter again, but at least my run is saved. Until I finish the combat and realize the marker isn't there. No, I really? Actually, that's the marker pedestal, isn't it? It's just gone. Oh no, I reload the save again. Okay, the marker's here. Just press the button and it'll move. Oh no, I pressed the button before I saved, but it's saved after the marker hadn't moved yet. This causes the save to register the marker as already moved, but it hadn't moved. The marker is now stuck inside the tunnel, and with it there, I can't trigger the cutscene. I officially was fucked. Now it's just fucked now. Nothing I can do. That's so lame, dude. Oh my god. I softlocked right before the final boss. The entire time, I thought the difficulty was named impossible ironically. That it was a funny thing, you know, fat guy named Tiny type of thing. But no, it's named impossible because it's impossible to finish the fucking game. I would not let this stop me though. I did it legit. First try the whole game, plasma cutter only, on impossible difficulty. I still had my first playthrough save file that was on hard mode, and it's in the same exact spot that I saved here. Now hear me out. Remember, hard mode and impossible mode are exactly the same. The only difference is the permadeath in the one save slot. So my thought process was, if I beat the game from this hard mode save without using anything besides the plasma cutter, then it's essentially the same thing. The problem with that is, I have more than just the plasma cutter on this save. That's fine, I just won't use any of the other weapons, except I don't have any ammo. So I have to kill lots of enemies with just telekinesis and my stomps, until I can get more ammo and then kill the rest with the plasma cutter. I've somehow managed to do this successfully. I've played the cutscene and it doesn't crash. All that's left now is the final boss. The boss himself is a breeze, it just takes a while. Then, I beat the game on Impossible with only the plasma cutter on January 29th, just 3 days after the game came out, in about 6 hours and 30 minutes, on my very first attempt. 0 deaths. This playthrough was super fun. Unfortunately, the game is not in a state that I could say it's good enough for Impossible mode justifying only 1 save slot. It's a fun mode, but when half of the reason that you're anxious is because you're afraid the game will soft lock and you'll lose your run, that's the wrong type of anxiety. Outside of that, the game is an absolute masterpiece, and I can't wait to make more content for it. Impossible mode is actually probably easier with only the plasma cutter, because you can max it out and get the upgrades earlier. Focusing on upgrading stasis and the suit first also seems to be the move. The game dumps ammo upon ammo on you, making it a breeze, and you never have to worry about having enough resources. With that being said, it was super fun, and I'm on to routing the speedrun. It's sure to be a broken mess. Thanks so much for watching, and stay stylish.